Welcome back to Color Class. I'm Sarah.
I'm Lucinda.
And today we're discussing fabrics and how that plays into your color analysis.
Yes.
We've talked about fabrics before, but there are different textures that create different clarity. So we're going to be getting into that. Soft versus clear, light versus deep. Warm versus cool, we aren't going to talk about so much today. Just keep your eye out for if you're slightly leaning cooler, if you're slightly leaning warmer, shift towards those seasons. But really today is about light versus deep, soft versus clear.
But what you may not have grasped, because it took me a while for the light bulb to go off, is that the 6 dominant characteristics that we use for everything applies to just about everything. So it can apply to jewelry. It can apply to fabrics. Today, we're talking about how it applies to fabrics because you can have a fabric and that fabric will be soft. Well, do you know what characteristics makes that fabric soft? Or do you know what characteristics makes that fabric clear or light? You can have light characteristics and it's not tone, it's texture and weight. And what happens is this just makes you're pulling together your whole outfit. If you're considering your dominant characteristic or your sub-dominant characteristic in your fabric choices, it just pulls everything together and elevates your look.
Right. Now, starting off with soft versus clear, this is going to be a huge determination right here. Now, this rule is a looser rule. It's not you have to follow it step by step.
Then is it a rule or is it a suggestion or guideline?
A guideline. I like that better. These are guidelines because as we know, fabrics can be any color, they can be any texture, any color. So some things can be softer versus some things might be a little bit like your white on your shirt, even though it's kind of a textured pattern, it still has some clarity and some softness in the coloring.
But why do you think I chose a textured pattern? Because if this had been satin, the same textured pattern or the same pattern on a satin top that was shiny, that would have been too clear for me because I'm soft. But because the colors are soft, even though they're kind of bold, I've got this nubby texture, which further softens it and makes it more appropriate for me, a soft. Now, let's talk about what kind of fabrics are soft in nature and what kind of fabrics are clear in nature. Well, soft fabrics might be wool, crepe, flannel, cotton jersey. Clear fabrics, think about that for a second. What do you think they would be? Silk charmeuse, organza, sequins, or lurex, anything that reflects light. You want, for your soft fabrics, for them to absorb light and be cozy. And with your clear fabrics, you want them to reflect light and twinkle and
give the contrast that you need.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we said we weren't going to talk about warm versus cool because those are things you can pick up with your eye. Right? But what we are going to talk about, and I find this really intriguing because the soft and clear is kind of obvious. You get it. I find light versus heavy, we're going to call them heavy instead of deep because deep implies that it's a deep color. We're going to talk about light versus heavy. With a light fabric, we're talking about chiffon, foil, tulle, anything that you can see through, that has some transparency, and that is literally lightweight.
Did you say linen? I feel like linen's one of those that can fall in the lighter category as well, now that summertime's coming up.
Yes, I think that's true. It's not as light. Like, for example, let me just give you the deep. With the deeps, you're talking about velvet. It's got some heaviness to it. Denim, believe it or not, it's considered to have some heaviness to it. Tweed, the tweed blazer.
We should also emphasize when you said denim being deep, because I know we're going to get a lot of comments about that. Okay.
Well, I'm not talking about the color of the denim. I'm talking about the weight, the structure of the weave, just the heaviness of the fabric. Interestingly enough, stonewashed denim probably leans more towards soft, but navy blue denim the unwashed variety, the brand new, looks not faded at all, that falls into deep.
Again, you do not, these are just loose guidelines, very loose. Obviously, I wear denim every single day and I'm soft, but also you wear denim. So it's not like you need to follow these rules to a T.
Now, just to recap, when your fabric choices match your dominant characteristics or your visual traits, the result will give you more of a harmonious feel, even before color enters the picture. So a soft autumn may feel overwhelmed in sequins,
yes,
but might glow in a matte jersey or a brushed twill. Mm-hmm. A clear winter might feel dull in flannel, but radiant in satin, polished silk, or some reflective fabric like sequins.
All right, so thank you for joining us today. If you are interested in coming on over to Patreon, we'll probably move this conversation there. Come on over. We do have a giveaway. We're giving away a $200 gift card to wherever you want. We have a poll open as well for you to decide. Over on our Patreon, find out how to enter for that. And also, if you want to follow us, go to our website, do any of that. Links are in the description down below. So thank you for watching us today. I'm Sarah.
I'm Lucinda.
And we'll see you in our next video.